Hey there guys, we're taking a look at Ready or Not running on the AMD Ryzen 5 5500U. Now the game is currently running with the current settings that you see on the screen right now. Now the game does actually support FSR, which is a welcome addition, and it's currently running at the performance preset. Unfortunately, FSR in this game seems to aggressively sharpen the image, even to the point where at the lowest setting it is extremely sharp compared to what I've seen from performance mode on other games. In general, though, everything seems to have a shimmering edge to it that is just very noticeable. It's nothing that's too distracting or anything. Really, the biggest distraction here is the fact that at these settings, at the stock 15-watt TDP, our 1% lows are pretty brutal overall. I was just playing a co-op match with a friend, and in general, I was having a pretty rough time just trying to keep up playing the game because of the fact that the performance that we were getting was bad enough that it was making the overall experience pretty brutal. The average aren't the worst thing in the world, but it's just those 1% lows that really drag down the experience, and you can tell by those frame time charts that there is a noticeable and consistent stutter that happens throughout the entirety of the experience, and it makes actually trying to play this very difficult to do, and it's also extremely hard to see enemies at a distance in the slightest. You know, a lot of these areas on the map are already dark and are just going to be very difficult to just see anyone in, so having this extremely low resolution on top of the fact that we have this consistent performance issues, it's just a recipe for an overall not fun experience, at least at the stock 15-watt TDP. We can of course try to raise the TDP to see if that can actually improve our performance all around. Of course, we can open up the AMD APU tuning utility and set it to the balance preset, which goes for a target of 25 watts for the TDP. And that in general did actually end up giving us a boost in our 1% lows, and you'll see that overall our frame times are looking significantly better, though they're still not perfect. It is in general though a far more playable experience, but there will still be these consistent moments of stutter throughout the gaming experience, but it is leagues better than where we were at before. At this point, it is a far more playable experience, but in general, it's still going to be a little difficult to see the enemies just because of the fact that we are running at a far lower resolution and FSR is aggressively sharpening everything, so it makes things at the distance very difficult to see, especially because of the aliasing shimmering that ends up becoming very noticeable because of the aggressive sharpening. It is overall a far more playable experience, and if you really wanted to play this game, you could actually now get away with actually playing this. Even if it's not going to be the most perfect experience, it is at least going to be doable, and those 1% lows being at the 30 FPS mark essentially mean that this is going to be doable. You're not going to have any major moments of stutter. You will see in the frame times that there will be the occasional wave here and there, but it's nothing as severe as what we were looking at the 15-watt TDP, where I would genuinely just recommend not playing the game at all if you are stuck at that TDP. I wouldn't say that this is going to be the greatest experience either at the 25-watt TDP, but it is a whole world difference compared to where we were at 15 watts. This is actually doable at this point. Not the greatest experience overall, but it is doable, and if this is the only way you can play the game and you're really invested in this type of game, this is what you want to play, you can actually do it on here. I genuinely was not expecting to see as big of an uplift as this actually ended up doing. I really thought that this was going to be a lost cause experience overall. It's definitely not perfect, but it is really doable compared to where we were at before, where it was just an unplayable mess. I thought that this was just going to be a short-lived session with a friend, but no, we actually ended up playing for a decent amount. We had a great time. It wasn't the best experience for me, obviously, because of the fact that the image quality wasn't great and the FPS wasn't amazing, but it was doable. And I continue to be surprised because if we raise the TDP up to 30, we actually do get also still a gain here, and it's a pretty noticeable one, where now we're getting 1% lows that are in the mid 30s and averages that are in the 50s, and in general it is just a better experience. And I was kind of surprised, and I was not really expecting this game to actually see as big a gains as it actually ended up seeing here. In general, it is an overall better experience than where we were at before, though you still have the same visual quality issues that you kind of just end up having with the fact that the game is running at such a low resolution, and FSR does have to do a lot of the heavy lifting here, but it is a better experience than where we were at before, though the temperatures that we're starting to get to are going to get pretty rough. I mean, right now already it's at 80. As I was playing with my friend, or at least I noticed that the temperatures were going up into the mid 80s, and really by the end of our play session in this game, we pretty much just, or at least I concluded that it was just not worth continuing to try to play like this, because I just did not feel comfortable with those temperatures. But it was the most playable that we had seen this game actually be, and it was really just getting close to a enjoyable experience. I just wish that visually we could get it to look a little better. Maybe if we didn't have to use FSR in performance mode, but honestly, the hit that we would take in the 1% lows by raising it even a little bit is just not going to be worth it. I'd rather take the hit to the visuals and actually enjoy the FPS that we're getting here, instead of just taking a hit to the FPS just so that things look a little bit better. So I actually came out of this one very pleasantly surprised. I really, after trying it with the 15-watt TDP, I thought this was going to be a wash, that this was just going to be an absolute disaster, and I was just going to show you it run like absolute dog shit at pretty much all of the different TDP presets. But I was pleasantly surprised to see that just by raising it up all the way to the balance preset, not even going to the performance preset, but balanced, already makes this a far more playable experience than just the stock TDP could. And if you actually have the thermal headroom for it, going to the 30-watt TDP and potentially even higher might actually net you some nice performance gains. I would be very curious to see what the 5500U could probably do at, like, if it could even go up to something like 45 watts. That would be kind of interesting to see what that would end up doing. The amount of heat that would generate would just be insane. But I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, be sure to subscribe. Let me know what other games you would like to see tested. This was one of those games that I had on my list because I was really curious to see how it would actually perform on low-end systems, and genuinely I am surprised that it did this well. So if you're interested in picking up the game, you could check out the G2A link down below and help support the channel. But anyways, I will see you guys next time.